Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Penn Vicarage on this Tuesday morning. Lovely to see you, and thank you for joining us for our Bible reflection for today. I hope you're enjoying Isaiah as much as I am. It's challenging in places, but it's wonderful stuff, isn't it? And today we've got a real beautiful reading this morning. It's only a short one, Isaiah and chapter 12. So let's get stuck into it. Isaiah 12 here. You will say in that day, I will give thanks to you, O Lord, for though you were angry with me, your anger turned away, and you comforted me. Surely God is my salvation. I will trust and will not be afraid. For the Lord God is my strength and my might. He has become my salvation. With joy you will draw water from the wells of salvation. And you will say on that day, give thanks to the Lord, call on his name, make known his deeds among the nations, proclaim that his name is exalted. Sing praises to the Lord, for he has done gloriously. Let this be known in all the earth. Shout aloud and sing for joy, O royal Zion, for great in your midst is the Holy One of Israel. And this is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. So as I say, it's a beautiful reading. It comes on the end of a whole section in which we're thinking of thus chapters sort of 9, 10, and 11, and now 12, about the Messiah, looking forward to greater days to come. And it comes in with that sort of section there. Chapter 12 here, it's an absolute beauty, and it reads actually a bit like a psalm. There are actually two sections. A psalm being like an Old Testament hymn, basically. It could easily be put into music. It reads like a psalm. Remember those from a few weeks ago? There are two sections in it. Essentially, there's verses 1 to 3, and there's verses 4 to 6. And both sections begin with the words, in that day. All right? So you've got 1 to 3. Chapter 1 begins, you will say, in that day. Verse 4 begins with, and you will say, on that day, and so on. So you've got two bits, verses 1 to 3 and verses 4 to 6, both beginning with the words, in that day. And it's meant to be poetic, and it's meant to sound beautiful. As I say, it comes on the end of chapter 11, which is clearly prose, but this is like a poetic ending to it. And as I say, it reads like a psalm. So let's take it a bit at a time. First, those words, in that day. And then there's complete and utter confidence in what God is going to do. What it's essentially saying is, difficult times are to come, but absolute confidence that greater days are to come beyond that. Sure, there is trouble to come. Judah has gone astray, and God is going to sort them out. But one day, a Messiah is going to come, and in that day, things will be better. So trouble is coming, but in that day, when the Messiah comes, greater things will be. It will seem dark from time to time. The times are going to be difficult. Purifying is never easy. And tough times are to come. The Assyrians are coming, and there are going to be some complicated times and so on. But Isaiah is absolutely confident that in that day, greater times are to come. The Messiah is coming, and when the Messiah comes, great things will happen. So verses 1 and verse 4 both begin with in that day, and notice the absolute confidence that Isaiah has that in that day things will be better. And you've noticed in chapters before, like the way Isaiah named his son Maher-shalal-hash-baz and all this type of stuff, he was utterly and completely more than confident that God was going to do great things, that sure, difficult times would have come, but greater things than that are going to come beyond that. So notice here the faith of Isaiah, that in that day, when the great day comes, great things are going to happen. So the first section, verse 1, on that day we'll say, give thanks to God, for though you were angry with me, your anger turned away and you comforted me. So when that day comes, you'll say, yes, you were angry with me. I mean, we've been talking in the last few chapters about the fact that people have gone proud and arrogant, and they've turned to other things rather than God, and they thought how proud and clever they are, and so on and so on and so on. And yes, that sort of behavior makes God angry, of course. And it says here, but though you were angry with me, your anger turned away and you comforted me. So sure, angry times are to come, have to, but beyond that, God will turn his anger away and he'll bring comfort instead. Comfort you, my people. That comes in chapters to come, as you'll find out in a few weeks' time. So in verse 1, you've got God, he's absolutely confident in that day, because though you were angry with me, you turned anger away and you comforted me. So yeah, that happens. Therefore, because of that, in verse 2, surely therefore God is my salvation. I will trust and will not be afraid, because the Lord God is my strength and my might, and because it has become my salvation. So because, in verse 1, God has turned his anger away and brought comfort, because he's experienced God in his life, surely God is my salvation. I will trust and will not be afraid. So because God helped him in verse 1, in verse 2, his faith is built up. He knows that God is now his strength. God is his might. And in God there is salvation. So because God's helped him in verse 1, therefore his faith increases. I will trust and will not be afraid. And we need to learn from that ourselves. That things happen in our lives and God helps us. We need to remember those and allow those to work in us to grow our faith, so that we can say that we will trust and we will not be afraid. Then in verse 3 he goes on to say, with joy you will draw water from the wells of salvation. So going forward into the future, when times get difficult, you will draw life. Water brings life. You will draw water from the wells of salvation. You'll have stores of good stories that you can feed on. Endless, lots and lots of time. You'll be able to look back in your life, those wells of salvation, those stories, those faith building events that we have with us, that we can look back on, that can build our faith when times get tough. And because of that, we can trust in God and not be afraid. Then in verse 4, again, second section, you will say on that day, give thanks to the Lord, call upon his name. And again, you can see he talks about knowing the deeds that God has done and making those deeds known among the nations, proclaiming that his name is exalted. So knowing what God has done and having the courage to talk about it. And as a church, actually, we need to be more open about the times that we know God has helped us. I can think of many, many times in the history of St. Bart's Church in the last 17 years while I've been there, and St. Anne's, of course, when God has helped us, God has blessed us. And those times we need to be open about the fact that God is with us. And because God's been with us in the past, we can take confidence going forward. We can dip into those wells of salvation, which means that we do not need to be afraid going forward. And it says also, make known his name, proclaim that his name is exalted. And I think this is picked up really in the Lord's Prayer. Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. Essentially we're saying, may the name of the Lord be held holy. May God's name, when we say hallowed be your name, may your name be hallowed. May your name be well thought of. May your name be held holy. May we know God amongst us. And that's what it's about. It's about looking, proclaiming what God has done, knowing God amongst us, and making sure that what we say and what we do brings honor to the name of God. And it also goes on to say at the end, for shout aloud in verse 6, shout aloud and sing for joy, O Lord, for great in your midst is the Holy One of Israel. It's about knowing that God is amongst us. God is with us. He's amongst us. He's done great things. He's turned away his anger. Greater things are happening now. We've got wells of salvation to tap in, so we can trust. We do not need to be afraid. Friends, short chapter, but an absolute beauty. Looking forward to the day, and Isaiah's total confidence that God is going to do great things and God's Messiah is going to come and fantastic things are going to take place. So it's a great psalm. So enjoy it again at your leisure. It's only a short chapter, Isaiah chapter 2, but it's an absolute beauty. Have a lovely day. Thank you for watching. And have a lovely day. And if you want to pick up today, just read that again, because it's absolutely beautiful. Thanks for watching. Do please share this message with your friends and have